Welcome back to the Rent Roll Queen podcast. I'm your host, Tarsi Taylor, and today's episode is sponsored by Buyer Rent Roll. How can you use AI to drive your real estate business? Today, I chat with Beau Miller from Beau Miller Consultancy all about AI and how to change the game. Hi, Beau. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Can you please give yourself a small introduction?
Sure. Beau Miller. Beau Miller Consulting is my current brand that I'm working, but previously known as Boutique Realty. So I've been in property management and real estate now since I was 17.
Wow.
So nearly 26 years.
Yeah. Well, I've been 27, so I walked in at 16, so I totally get it.
Trump me, yeah.
Just by 1 year. Like, it's nothing. Maybe even just a few months. But yeah, we've definitely been part of the furniture for a really long time. And you had an incredible business which you just recently sold. So can you give us some tips and everything and some advice about what your experience was?
Yeah. I think somebody said to me that I should be sale ready all the time. And when I thought I was
that me?
It was probably you, actually. You did say that at your Reebok conference earlier in the year. But yeah, be sale ready. And I thought I was sale ready. Like, I think, always really high standards on, making sure that everything was compliant, or our lease renewals were done, our rents were as high as they could be. But when the time actually came along that I'd made a decision that I wanted to sell, it still wasn't as clean as I suppose it needed to be ready to go. So it was a pretty long journey. It took about 2 years.
Yes.
Which was a lot longer than I imagined, because I think when you're ready to sell, you're ready to sell. And I had a lovely lady say to me, Beau, now's the time to check back in, not check out.
Yeah, definitely.
And so 2 years of checking back in when you're quite burnt out and emotionally drained and just can't quite give it much more, but yet you have to check back in. And then you're checking back in, and I was doing it for a lot longer than I imagined I'd have to. So, 2 years later and we were ready to sell, and we actually grew the business size by another 60 properties in that 2 year period.
Amazing, yeah.
So it made a difference. There's a reason why it took so long to do it, but I was pretty proud of what we ended up with it.
Well, you made more at the end of the day when you went to sell that business, because like you said, you'd already put all those other processes and procedures in place, which was increasing the rents and doing everything you need to do. But then you also added to your portfolio, which gave you that extra income when you during that period of time. And then when you went to sell it, you got a higher sale price than what you were originally expecting 2 years prior.
Yeah, and the stuff that sold the business was different to what I imagined. It was actually having a trained team of property managers that made the sale of the business a lot more appealing, because the people that I had working in the business and doing such a high standard of property management were actually the commodity that was wanted rather than the properties.
Yes.
And I never saw that coming. Yeah, so that was really great. And those property managers are still with the businesses that the properties went with.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, because you want to see them employed, right? So that's a huge thing for business owners, is keeping their staff employed when they go to sell their business. And it's a very scary part, because I hear it a lot, like the business owners like, I want my property manager to go with this rent roll. And we can't always guarantee it either.
No, and it's seen often by the purchaser as a negative to take the staff with it, because what are they hiding, or will the properties go with that property manager? But I think what the difference was with my business is we had the systems, the processes, and the standards already set. And so it was a really easy transition that they were able to integrate within the existing businesses and actually step in as leaders in those businesses.
So let's talk about the process and procedures that you had in place, because you are very well adversed in AI and its technology and how it can basically better build a real estate business. So can you please run us through some of that?
Yeah. So AI, I feel like I was always meant for the age of AI. And I try and explain it that AI, I suppose ChatGPT is my favourite tool of choice and what I've used the most. But in understanding that AI is for the world of data.
Yeah.
For years and years, everybody said data is king. Make sure that your databases are clean and tidy and have all the information. And I remember I worked for a real estate software company 13 years ago.
Yeah.
I was with them for 8 years. And when that business was sold to a new owner, they bought the business thinking that they were buying data.
Right.
But little did they know that the property managers weren't using the databases to store the data. You know it.
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
Do we pay the bills for this client? Does it have solar panels? How many bedrooms, bathrooms? No one enters that information to the database.
They don't.
So the biggest thing for me was when I was building my business is making sure that all the boxes were ticked and all the information was entered in a way that it was the same. So if I needed to look at the data and analyze the data, it could tell me answers. So probably an example of that would be how when we're taking maintenance inquiries, when the maintenance gets logged, how many days does it take before a property manager touches that? Once it's been touched, how many days does it take for the landlord to respond?
Yes.
How many days does it take for the tradesperson to get to the job, then to invoice it? So that's all data that tells a story. And so the most amazing thing when AI came out is that data could be analysed so quickly. And
so long as it was all there in the first instance, right?
100%.
Yes.
So my business had the data. It had it there. And as we started to get, loss of staff through the period of COVID, people were getting burnt out and moving on. Clients were moving their properties because they were getting burnt out of property ownership and how much money it was costing them because we saw trades were starting to charge more, cost of living's changing. So all of this data starts to tell and paint a picture. So the complaints start coming in. You've got, tenants saying, no, you can't come and do a routine inspection. So how much does that cost my business if I'm having to reschedule routine inspections? All of this information is something that became really important. And the time of AI meant that I could analyze it quickly and then adapt the business so fast to what the clients actually needed.
Very interesting.
But it all started by using social media.
Right.
So we had a question one day. We'd gone to a real estate conference in the city with the REIQ, and the girls were telling me about these tenants that kept changing routine inspections, causing them, issues. They didn't want them to look into particular bedrooms. The children are home because they weren't going to school and the parents were at work, so you can't enter the property. And just all these really interesting things. And we knew that the routine inspection process is outdated. It currently is an outdated process. In Queensland, we're doing up to 4 inspections a year. If you're a tenant, you hate that process, right?
Yep.
And the landlords, they're expecting this high level of standard in their reporting, but sometimes it's hard to do that because we're running from one property to another.
That's right.
But we're making that assumption based on what we think the problem is in the industry, not what they think the problem is. And when I say we and they is the clients, the landlords, the tenants, and anybody else that's out there that's ever been...
your tradespeople, everybody else in between.
So we just started using social media to ask the question. Ask the really hard questions that we don't want the answers to because we know it's going to open a can of worms.
Yes.
Once we asked the questions on social, we dumped all of that response and there was a lot. It blew up my social media. It showed that I was setting a new bar and I was asking the hard questions. And then we changed our entire routine inspection process but gave it a framework that we could then work with.
Yes.
So a lot of what happens in a property management office is you'll have a lot of that water cooler chatter around the problems. And so, Mary calls, you can't do the routine inspection because the kid's sick and home from school. And so hang up the phone from Mary and the property manager says, that fucking Mary, she always rings and changes our routine inspections and she blows up our week because we can't do the inspection. But what it does is it creates chaos for the whole office. Everybody stops what they're doing and then they have a conversation about Mary and the bloody kid that's always sick and what are they feeding it and maybe they're not giving it vitamins.
No judgment here or anything like that, but it happens, right? We all know that it happens in real estate.
It does. But the reason it happens is we just don't give ourselves this framework to make decisions. So when Mary's on the phone saying that, we needed to provide Mary a reason why it was okay to reschedule and not okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So we used AI to help us create frameworks that gave us decision making, put that in an easy access space for the property manager. And we're literally just using a OneNote internal process guide.
Yep.
So they can search cancellation of routine or reschedule of routine inspection, takes you to that page of our policy and procedures guide. And then that is where the framework sits to make the decisions and use the language that we need to ask the questions.
Yeah, right.
And say whether it's okay or not okay.
Yep. That's amazing to be able to do that. And a lot of people don't understand that if you can prime ChatGPT correctly and input all the data like you have done, you actually can get all the results that you've ever desired out of it.
100%. Yeah. I think the area that I've used ChatGPT the most is by creating a legislation guru. And since going on from Boutique, we created it during the Boutique days, and I've made it available outside of Boutique. And working with the teams that, legislation has changed so many times now.
And it's going to continue to change. It's not stopping.
And half the time we don't know why we do what we do.
Yes.
But it comes down to the lease document that's signed, the condition report, the entry notices, the legislation that we work from, and that is our framework to make decisions. But we don't make decisions based on that. We make it based on whatever somebody else taught us 3 years ago when we learned to be a property manager.
Yeah.
So when I created the guru in ChatGPT, I just dumped all of the data that I had around legislation, but also my own internal processes, put it all together, and then you can really quickly ask this guru the question about how do I issue an entry notice?
Yeah.
And then it will tell you how to do it. I literally taught myself how to use Xero using ChatGPT. So I did it. I can do depreciation on assets.
That's amazing.
I couldn't teach you how to do it, but Chat could. But I use that framework to basically go, well, ChatGPT can teach my property managers how to do their job.
Yeah.
And so if they would come and ask me a question, no, have you asked ChatGPT?
Yeah, it's all in there for you. So as a business owner, because it's extremely overwhelming right now, we're talking another brand new, it's been around for a few years, and I do love ChatGPT because I do use it quite a lot. But we're talking about business owners who go, oh my God, now I have to figure out how to use this product. What would you say to them to get started on that journey?
There's a free version, and I'm going to tell you that majority of the property managers I'm speaking with, if they have started using it, they've started using it, and they're using it in your business, and you're probably not controlling how they're using it in your business.
Right.
So if you get on top of it and get in front of it and start to create some plans around how it's okay to use AI in your business, and get ChatGPT to write you the framework around
your policy and procedure can be written by ChatGPT. Yeah.
Get everybody on board, make that decision together, and sign and say what's okay and what's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay to use Zs when you should be using Ss.
Yes. In Australia, our language is a little bit different in how we spell things. So, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so it just needs to have some really basic conversations around it's okay to use ChatGPT, but if you're going, or it could be, it doesn't have to be ChatGPT. Copilot is also a part of the Microsoft suite and is free if your business is running Microsoft.
Yeah, Google's got another
Gemini
version as well. Yeah. So
AI's everywhere. We see it in Facebook every time we open up. It makes a suggestion. LinkedIn can create articles for you. Like, this stuff's all there to create it. There's free versions. Your teams are using it. So the best thing to do is get in front of that and work together and find out who in your office is actually using it and decide what you're going to use it for.
Yeah, and another thing too is, like, once you've got your framework around it, what is your policy and procedures in checking what it actually writes? Because we have seen where they've literally copied and pasted it into, advertising or whatever, and it's got the actual, yes, I will create this version for you, and by creating this, I've done this for you, and they've actually just stuck the whole thing.
Yeah, the good thing about ChatGPT now is it makes this really big line across that you copied to. It's it's catching on to that. And like realestate.com have put some measures in place to make sure that if you're using it for description writing, that it will detect that information and actually take it out.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's there, it's being used, but as Samantha McLean, Elite Agent, always says, it's a first draft.
Yes. Yep, that's right. And the thing is too, you can actually, I've used it for my social media purposes and for blogs and all that sort of stuff. And I read it and then I'm like, no, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted. This is where I'm heading with it. Like, can you please rewrite it based on the new information that I've provided you? And then it'll spit out a couple of versions and I'm like, okay. And then I have to go back in and just redefine it. Yeah.
Yeah. I can always tell because I use it so much. I can tell if somebody's written it using AI. And you can also see by asking somebody a question if they've used AI.
Yeah.
And that probably takes me to the next thing that I've been working on, which is how do you upskill your property managers in your business using AI?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So how would you do that?
So we've developed a skills analysis tool, and so it asks a series of questions over 6 areas of your property management business. And it's almost like a employee induction and then review process.
Right.
So you bring your staff in, you teach them the ropes, and then after 3 months, you sit down, you do a review together. So I had that process in Boutique. I added it into just a Jot form, or you could use Microsoft Forms of these questions.
Yep.
And then using the answers to those questions, I'm able then to sit with the team member and say, how are you going with this? And I can tell whether they use ChatGPT to write it or they actually know how to do the job.
Yep. That's amazing that you're able to identify if they're just relying on ChatGPT, because it's there to be a tool, right? It's not there to actually take over your job.
No, it's a tool.
It's a tool that you use to better create your job or rewrite things in your job to either sound a little bit more professional or so forth, or, if you're a bit disgruntled, to actually write it better so that you can be very open and honest and transparent, but still get your point across, right? Yeah. But a lot of people are literally just using it and forgetting to use, no offense, but their brain.
Their brains, yeah, exactly. And so if you use it in a way that it helps you to learn and educate yourself, then your brain becomes more powerful.
Yes.
And that is what is going to change every single person that uses it now is going to become more educated if they actually use it to learn and create and innovate new ways of doing things.
That's incredible. Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about business owners needing to really be at the forefront of it. So it is about taking a step back and making the time for this product to understand it yourself and to understand what it actually does and prime it for the better use of your property management team.
Yep.
But you need to really work with someone like yourself on the policy and procedures on what does it look like around that, because, now you've got to let your clients know that, you are kind of using AI software and those sorts of things. I had my solicitor recently send me a message to say, or a letter saying, hey, just letting you know that we use it to write information with it. And it's like, can you sign off? So same sort of deal that we kind of need to do in our own industry as well.
Yeah, we've got disclosure rules around how we do things. So definitely have to be a part of that. Yeah.
There's so much to know and understand as a business owner, and there's so many legalities that we actually have to understand. Like you said very clearly, our legislation is going to continuously change, and it's not just here in Queensland, it's around all of Australia. And I'm sure, I know for a fact it's happening all around the world. When it comes to real estate, there is a lot of legislation changing all over the world with regards to real estate. So it's so important to be abreast with everything going on. And the easiest way to do it is literally take all the information, chuck it into ChatGPT and get it to teach you.
Yeah, get it to teach you. Get it to find the answers quicker than you can ever find it yourself.
Yeah.
If you want a particular section of the Act, you literally put the Act in and ask it, where is the section on the Act that talks about notice to tenant when a property's been sold?
Yes.
And it'll take you right there so you can see it. In the latest break lease legislation, where is it written that we are meant to charge X number of dollars in terms of which percentage of the lease is left on it? And find out where it actually is so you understand why you do what you do or why you're saying what you're saying to your clients.
And it's a great way to train new people coming into your business too. Like, somebody who's fresh in real estate, there's a lot of people that want to be in their real estate journey, but they don't know how to start. And there's a lot of business owners who want to give those types of people a go, but are so worried because they don't have the time to train or teach them, whereas you can basically help through this process.
Yeah. And it's all about them self-helping themselves. So new people into a business, how do they self-help before interrupting the whole team? How do they avoid feeling silly when they actually have these tools available to them to help them maybe think outside the box? And the simple thing would be a hot water cylinder. There's no hot water at the property. Well, ask ChatGPT. Yeah. What do I do if there's no hot water at my property?
Yeah.
You know, like if you owned the house, you wouldn't be calling the property manager. So what would you do? Ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's right.
And so is it gas? Is it electric? You know, how, if it's electric, what am I testing? Am I making sure that the water's coming out of the tap, or is it, coming out of the overflow? Like ChatGPT will tell you all those questions. So it can self-train the property managers to ask those questions. And that is why I always say, what did Chat say?
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah. Because you're wanting them to learn themselves.
Yeah.
And often we have a tendency in a property management office is to answer those questions for them, because we want to help, but it doesn't help when they can't self-learn.
That's very true. Yeah.
So I did use it in the sales side of my business too, though.
Yeah.
It's not just a PM tool.
No.
It's sales too.
Honestly, it's an everything tool. Like, it's for marketing, it's for everything.
Yeah.
So, but you got to prime it correctly. So talk to me about how you did it in your sales division.
Yeah, so sales is a data-driven business, right?
Yes.
Like, it's all about the facts, not the fluff. But people make decisions based on fluff. But if you can give them the facts in front of them, they can make informed decisions on their own. Now, the problem is interpretation of data.
Yes.
And knowing what we're actually looking at. So if you've got, you've got a unit and it's got 3 comparable sales in a building, how long did it take them to sell? What was the marketing strategy that they used to sell those properties? Was it offer over? Was it expressions of interest, which is a strange one that's really a commercial term, but we're using in resi term?
We are, yes.
Is it a price guide? Is it auction? At what point did they change that marketing? So all of that information is in RP Data or Price Finder. You can tell how a property has been marketed and how they got to a certain result.
Yep.
And so using that information actually layers on top of just a standard CRM report that you could pull out to do your CMA.
Yeah.
You can actually then talk more about the process of how somebody went getting the price point that they were looking at. So I was able to do that with a client that they were a data person. Like, they loved data, and not many of your clients would do that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be interested in it. So we pulled out every single sale for the suburb for the last 3 years, and we used ChatGPT to analyse the data. And we did it in a way that we worked.
That's a lot of data to enter.
The suburb was Jindalee and it wasn't too bad. So no one really moves there very often. But that was an area of Jindalee that has flooded properties, non-flooded properties.
Yes.
We were able to overlay the flood map. Is the property within flood or out of flood? RP Data and Price Finder don't do that.
Yeah.
But you can use ChatGPT to throw all the information in together.
Yes.
Just exporting it out onto Excel spreadsheets and throw it in. And then talk to it like it's another person in your office to actually then build a strategy to get price conditioning for that client.
That is a fantastic idea. Beau, thank you so much for coming on the show. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to add all of your details, because you are Beau Miller Consulting. I'm going to add all your details to the caption, and anybody who wants to reach out and talk to you about AI and how they can implement that in their business, I highly recommend reaching out to you, because honestly, you've got it down pat, and I've seen what you do, because I think you do some webinars and everything as well, and some courses. So anyone who really wants to get in the front foot of AI can do that with you.
Yeah, we can work together.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.